everyone, Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to thehoosier.com on 3. Now with On 3 and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football, Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side. And the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at thehoosier.com. Go there. Sign up today.
Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time! 3 on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game! Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! Float game for the win! Ayler's gone! Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU! America! They got a football team now!
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, sports fans. How are you? Welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Friday. So glad to have you along, no matter where and how you're listening, whether it's on one of our great affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, The Ref, always the right call down in Evansville, or 12:30 a.m., 104.7 FM, WJLB, the voice of the region, and on 1380 The Fan, Fort Wayne Sports Station. Keep it locked right where you got it. No reason to go anywhere else all day long. If you're following along on YouTube, make sure you've got your subscription locked in and the notifications toggle so you don't miss a thing. Give me a follow on Twitter. What else can I think of? Appreciate you guys. Another packed show today. Man, Todd Leary, of course, will join us as always. Zach Osterman, fresh off of winning the United States Basketball Writers Association's Beat Writer of the Year award. So congratulations to Zach, and look forward to congratulating him for that as well. Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com on 3, and Joe Tipton from On 3, maybe the most connected guy in all of college recruiting. So looking forward to that, getting you caught up on things that are happening in college basketball, and a lot. It doesn't stop. A lot going on that I noticed. Tommy Lloyd from Arizona, he's getting a little raise. Not a little raise, that's a kidding. He's getting a 5-year extension and a raise as well, so good for him. And actually, his base salary is $4.1 million. So his pay gets bumped to 4.4. It's not, it's not like he's making this big time money. He will also receive a $2 million retention bonus if he remains with the program and is in good standing. That's 3 years from now. So, that's something I think that they should do a lot more of. Retention bonuses if you're there 4 years from now. Things like that. Pat Kelsey also jumping on the pay raise parade as he led Louisville's basketball team to national relevance back after they had suffered through their ordeal, and he did it quickly in a big way, and congratulations to him. But $1 million raise, baby. He goes from, he was only making $2.3 million. Now, to you and me, $2.3 million is $2.3 million. But in the basketball world, that's cheap, especially for a program like Louisville. They're making money there. They're saving money by having that low of a payout. So how about this? The number 7 point guard recruit in the country, Caden Lewis, he decommits from Kentucky. He's a top 25 boys basketball recruit, decommitted from Kentucky. He was the number 7 ranked point guard in ESPN's 2025. I'll have to check to see where he is in on 25s. He'll always be grateful to Coach Pope, yada, yada. But he's going to take his talents elsewhere. I don't doubt it. Freshmen, they're going to get recruited over just nonstop like crazy. So you got all that going on and much, much more, but we'll have a lot more of that with Alec Lasley and Joe Tipton. That's what I'm looking forward to. We'll get us caught up on all of the latest. Who's going where, who might go where, who has gone where. Appreciate our friends down at Reynolds Family Dentistry down in Sellersburg. Don't forget, if you live down in the area, stop by and see Dr. J. He takes care of us and takes care of me, and he'll take care of you. Appreciate everybody again for jumping on with us today. We've got to take a quick one. When we come back, the man himself will be with us. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And let me tell you, there's nothing hard about where Todd Leary is. As I see the palm trees, what a beautiful view. It's like the Masters with palm trees.
It is. I literally walked out of my room this morning, and this is where I am, 20 feet from my room. So this is my view in the morning right now.
You see mine, baby. Same old view every day. Congratulations. I'm happy for you.
Yeah. The hard truth's going to be going home on Sunday. That's going to be the hard truth.
Oh, man. What part of the state do you find yourself?
I am in Palmetto, Florida, just about 35 minutes away from the Ugly Grouper, which I will be at later today.
No kidding. Well, stop by and say hi to Thad. Ask for Thad.
I will do that.
And tell him we appreciate him.
All right.
Lots going on, man, in the college basketball world. Some scheduling. Indiana now going to take on Louisville in a non-conference game December 6th. They're already playing Kentucky and Marquette. So the non-con schedule looking a bit like it used to look, kind of, which not neither here nor there, but those were some fun days, man. You play some rival teams, and Indiana had gotten away from that, but that comes crashing back this year, and boy, the Hoosiers better be ready for it.
Yeah, they better. And you know what, though? That's the way to do it. I mean, come in, throw your feet right in the fire with Coach DeVries right now. Like, he's going to put them in a situation where they're going to get tested early, and that's a good thing. Like, I think that shows his confidence in his ability to put a roster together and have guys somewhat clicking, early in the season. But it's funny, like, we just automatically assume Louisville's going to be really good again next year because they had such a great year, and they really did. But I mean, everybody's really putting together a new roster. Not everybody, but a huge amount of teams. Yeah, and Louisville will be one of them, putting together, mostly new roster. So it'll be interesting to see, but it's great. Like, it's a way better test. We'll know early on, where this team's going to stand nationally. It doesn't mean they won't improve and all that throughout the year, but we'll know pretty early on where they stand early in the non-conference next year.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun to see those games spread out. Like I said, Kentucky and Lexington, you're playing Louisville and Gainbridge. And I don't know, I haven't seen the details on that. If that one will just, I wonder if that'll rotate between Gainbridge and Louisville back and forth. But Louisville's arena would be their home arena. So
Right.
that would be, I'm like, okay, how would that one work? But we'll see. I don't know what the details on that one are. But the Kentucky game, man, that's one that you're always looking forward to, no matter what. I don't care who's on the team. It's just that game it's just one of the best games in all of college basketball, man. It sucks that we've been without it for so long, but it's coming back.
Yeah, I mean, and it's hard to say because it's been so hit or miss over the last few years. It's hard to put it back up there with the greatest rivalries, but it sure used to be, and it was one that, I've always told everyone. Like, I know we were supposed to hate Purdue the most, but we basically hated who we knew Coach Knight wanted to beat the most, and that was always Kentucky. And I know there's that audio recording that's out there of him talking about not losing to Purdue and all that stuff, but just take my word for it. Like, we knew as players, you better beat Kentucky. And that was the important rivalry. And that's to take nothing away from the IU Purdue rivalry, because that'll always be the in-state battle that's fun, and the fans are split and go back and forth. But the Kentucky one, I guess you feel like you're more allowed to hate them because they're from a different state. And
I grew up hating Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean,
it had nothing to do with IU. I just grew up hating Kentucky.
Right. It's like where you're from down in southern Indiana, like you either love that school or you absolutely hate it, and you hate their fans and everything about them because they're obnoxious. And that's exactly what they think about Indiana, and that's what you want. Like, I want them to think that. I don't want them to like us. So yeah, it's definitely one that should always be played, and I'm really glad it's back on the books.
Absolutely, and there'll be other great games along the way as well. The Big Ten Conference comes into play, and those teams, and the Big Ten, you got the teams that didn't have the years that they wanted to have. USC, Eric Musselman out there, they're going to keep fighting. They're going to get better. I mean, every year it's going to be a cyclical ride of who's good this year. Who brought in the talent, man?
Yeah.
Any team can jump up and rise from the ashes at any time because of the portal now. And so you never know. You can't plan ahead like you used to be able to.
Yeah, and the two, I think, most perfect examples of that are Indiana and Kansas this past year. And I don't know if the numbers are accurate, but I know they're probably pretty close, in that I think Indiana and Kansas probably paid the most for their rosters last year in getting players out of the portal. And I think we can all agree it really didn't work out all that well. So it's not just a matter of getting the talent to come there. It's a matter of getting that talent to play well together and getting them organized. And, I think the Final Four, having 4 number 1 seeds in it, has some interesting connotations to it. I mean, I think there's stuff to that. Like, we're probably going to see more of that as long as the portal exists, because the cream's going to rise to the top. And that doesn't mean the teams that pay the most money, because obviously Indiana and Kansas proved that wrong. But it's going to be who can get their players to play well together. And Indiana's going to get tested early, like we said, with that schedule. But I think we're all a lot more excited about their opportunity for them to compete in big games. Because you can just look at the numbers. I mean, the last 5 or 6 years, when they played good teams in the early conference part of the season, they've gotten blasted and blown out, not even competitive in those games. And so I think we're all excited to hopefully put an end to that.
And nothing would be better than beating Kentucky out of all 3 of those. I'm going to be honest with you, because
no doubt.
According to Laurie, she will back this up. She says she's married to a UK fan, and trust her, they do not think IU is relevant anymore.
And Here's my take. Right. They're right.
But they want to act like IU is not relevant anymore because it's just this superiority complex. So just going, it cracks me up that the series got ended when it was supposed to be coming to Rupp Arena with Oladipo and Cody Zeller. Number 1 Indiana team. Let's not have them in. Let's end this series. It's revisionist history, baby. But
Jim,
I know.
If their record was what Indiana's record was in the last 15 years, we would be saying they're not relevant either. So I'm not sticking up for them, believe me. But I get where they're coming from, and I don't disagree with that statement. But I think every team in the Big Ten, I think Kentucky's of the world, I think they would all tell you they're afraid to wake the sleeping giant, because Indiana has the resources, and that puts them in a different category than a lot of schools. And as soon as this gets lifted off of us and we're no longer, just the way that they played the last 10 years, then I think everybody's not going to love it as much as they act like they're going to like it.
The Final Four was fun to watch. I'm still surprised that Houston was able to let that game slip away, because they spent the first half of that game just punching Texas or Florida in the face. It was just like a little punching them in the face all night, punching them in the face. And I'm like, boy, Florida is just, but they couldn't put them away. They couldn't really get separation, even though they were controlling it physically and all that. And boy, halftime adjustments, and Florida got their stuff together, and she was on the other foot in the second half.
Well, Jim, it was almost exactly the way it played out was almost exactly the opposite of what happened to them in the Duke game. And I mean, Duke kept them at arm's length the whole game, but could never quite put them away, and had a couple of opportunities to put them away with about 7 or 8 minutes to go in that semifinal game. And Duke just never quite put them away and allowed them to hang around. And, look at what happened at the end of that game. About 10 different things had to happen, and all of them had to happen in order for Houston to be able to win that game. And they did. And that's why we love March Madness so much, because those situations, I mean, Houston had no business winning that game against Duke. And it just, the chips fell the way they needed them to. And it just went the opposite that way in the finals. And Florida, when it was 42-30, I said to myself, I'm like, it's going to be very difficult to come back against a Houston team the way they play down 12 in the second half. And, they put on a little run and went on, a 12-3 run, and all of a sudden they're right back in it. And, Houston just never – they had a couple of opportunities to put it away, and they never did it. And when you let teams hang around, anything can happen, and anything did happen to them in that game. And it was just the reverse of what happened in the other game. They had no business winning the game against Duke, and Florida had no business winning the game against Houston. But both of those outcomes happened, and that's what makes March Madness so great.
It certainly is, and looking forward to more of it. And we've got lots more coming up here with the man, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. Don't forget, if you have kids, no kids, doesn't matter if you're a kid. But look, if someone looking to improve their basketball fundamentals, go to myjumpshot.com. Maybe even if you live in Florida, That would be a good one to go take care of. But reach out to myjumpshot.com. We've got plenty more coming up here from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We're back with it right after this. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday, baby. It's Friday. Todd Leary on assignment.
Yeah, this is a little better than my car I'm usually driving when I did the show. So I hope I get to default to this one more often.
Yeah, that would be nice. I hope you do too, just for the sanity of it all.
Yeah.
How long are you down there?
I will leave on Sunday. I'll be home Sunday night.
Man,
Mm-hmm.
I hope you've been there all week at least.
I have Sunday to Sunday.
Well, that's a good deal, man. Good deal.
Yep.
Did you play any golf?
Oh yeah, I played a couple times with my son. Playing again today and tomorrow. So.
Oh wow, so big family outing.
Yeah. Well, my son lives down here. Max, my oldest son, lives down here.
Oh, that boy. Bonus.
Yep.
Bonus.
Big time.
Works
like at a golf course and everything.
Oh, that's kind of like payback, right?
A little bit.
Getting some payback now finally after all those years of toiling goes into that. Well, that's awesome. Yeah. What's the weather like? It looks beautiful.
It is. I almost saw a cloud, I thought a second ago, but nope, it wasn't. I think it was just a plane going by. But yeah, it's been the high 70s, sunny it rained on the first day we were here. Otherwise, it's been 75 to 80 and sunny with very little clouds the whole time. Pretty nice.
There was a Zoom call with Darren DeVries with some former players. I don't know. Were you on that one, or was that
I was not.
Players? I don't. Was that for a certain section of players? Because there's so many players.
I didn't even see it.
Well, it may have happened while you were on vacation. I think
probably. I didn't check my email, so I didn't see it.
Smart man. I just know he did, which is kind of cool. That's something that hasn't happened before. But I know that Tom Crean would. I don't know. Did he have guys in? But I know he had a pretty good relationship. He tried to, it seems, to bridge that gap with the other players, or did he not?
Yeah, I mean,
All right, that answers that question.
every coach that comes in here says that they want to, bring a lot of the older guys back and all that stuff. And I'm not saying that they need to. I'm just saying, like, they all say that, and they're usually full of it. Like, it's never happened up to this point. I'll say that.
So this Zoom call, do you see that as something different?
I do. And actually, I mean, I'm just hearing about it from you for the first time, but I'll tell you, like, I texted Scott Dolson and told him that that's the first thing that he should do with Coach DeVries, because he doesn't have any tie. I mean, Mike Woodson, some guys knew Mike Woodson. Most of us knew of Mike Woodson. We don't know a lot about Coach DeVries, and he doesn't know a lot about us. So, I mean, I told Scott Dolson he should set some things up like that. He should set up an outing this summer that gets him involved so he can meet the different, there's like different eras of former players. There's the older guys that I consider the older guys, like Quinn Buckner era and Scott May and Mike Woodson and those. And then, then there's the middle era of Bob Knight guys. It's like Brian Evans and Alan Henderson and Calvert and Damon.
Yourself, your group.
Yeah, myself. And then you got the guys that are after Coach Knight. And everybody kind of gets lumped into different categories. And I've been saying this for years, the coach that can figure out a way to mingle all of those guys together and get them all to know each other. Because, I mean, I will tell you, most of us don't know each other. I mean, I know that they think we do. I never met Mike Woodson before he came as the coach to Indiana. And that surprised a lot of fans, I think, when I told them that. And it was the case for, I mean, Pat Graham didn't know him. Damon didn't know him. Evans didn't know him. Like, all the guys I was with, like, we just don't know the other eras like you would think that we would. It's not a big family atmosphere like it should be.
Yeah, and I think a part of that is because post-Night, there were just too many coaches in a short succession of time, but that doesn't do anything to dissuade your argument, because before Knight was there, I wonder why that is. Partly, I guess, because Woodsman was off doing his thing in the NBA. Quinn Buckner was off doing his thing. I guess, is that the reason, or is
I mean, Coach Knight, when you have the, track record of Coach Knight, like, you demand and command. I don't know that demand's the right word. You command a little more respect. And when you have an outing in the summertime, players try their best to get back to it. You can't do it every year. Family things conflict and all that. But, if there's 10 years and Coach Knight had a golf outing, you try to make it 8 out of 10 years. And believe me, he gave you heck for those 2 years you didn't make it, to come back to it. And so, that with his success and all of that, he kind of commands that respect. And I don't think that that's been there since. And then when you get coaches that come in and say, and I'll just say, like, all the coaches since Coach Knight, everybody says, yeah, I want to make this more of a family atmosphere and all that. And look, I am the first one to say they have other things to worry about, but no one has given that any attention whatsoever. And I know there was a couple times, I know what you're talking about with the Coach Crean thing. I know Brian Evans and some guys were out to his house one time. And, he tried to have like a picnic with current players and former players and all that. But it was a selected invite thing or whatever. And it was just, honestly, I talked to guys that were there, and he was trying to pick their brain about the motion offense and things like that. Like, that's what they took out of it. At least I'll say it that way. But at least he gave the effort, and I will say that. And it's not happened in all the years since Coach Knight's been gone. And I don't want that to be the focal point for Coach DeVries. I wanted to put a roster together that, I sat there at the press conference just like you did, and I loved everything he said. They were going to build a locker room that's why I'm sitting back trusting everything that he's doing, because you know what? We don't get to interview these guys. We don't get to talk to them and see what they're going to be like in the locker room. I remember last year when they signed Omar Ballo, and, you and I sat here right on this show, and I wasn't that excited because I don't know anything about Omar Ballo. I don't know if he's a great leader. I know I didn't want that style of basketball on the court, but it turns out, it appears from the outside looking in, he wasn't a very good leader, because he did a lot of things on the court that, a leader wouldn't have done. And so I think they're building a locker room right now that is going to be able to do the things that we want them to do, and that the coach DeVries wants them to do. And that's really all that we're worried about. And I don't care if he builds our relationship right now. Hopefully he's got many, many years to do that.
And since Coach Knight, there have been now, I think, 6 coaches, which is too many. But you look at a program like Purdue or Michigan State
Yeah.
that just has that continuity uh, and makes it so much easier for player relationships and whatnot. That cannot make it easy for Indiana when you had all those different coaches after Coach Knight.
Well, and look, but you singled out the 2 schools with the longest tenured coaches right now
Right.
in the Big Ten and all that. Most of the other schools are kind of dealing with the same thing Indiana's dealing with. But you're right. The problem with that is when you're trying to build a culture, you can't build a culture when you bring in a new leader all the time. And that is what has been difficult, and not just at Indiana and a lot of different programs, but I definitely think you put Indiana in that category. They've struggled to create and at least continue the kind of culture that they want, and that's translated directly into wins and losses. And when you don't have a culture, you're basically potluck every year on hoping that some player comes in and surprises you and is a better leader and gets things back on track. And up to this point, I think we can say we just haven't had that happen.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's been one of the unfortunate things. But hopefully that turns around. It's like hopefully it's a different year. Oh, it's this year, but there is difference now. Right now, I don't know how good or not that Coach DeVries is going to do, but I know that he's working very hard. That he's got a staff that's working very hard. He still hasn't. I don't know if he's completed his staff yet. I know it's not been officially announced yet, but I would be surprised if he's gone this far and he hasn't. We've spoken a lot about a GM position, which I think it was you that said you don't think that would happen this year. Was that you that said that?
No, but I agree with. I mean,
it may be
know
Zach that said it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know that. I do think that position, there's a lot of value to that position. I also don't think you just need to fill that position because you want to have a GM. Like if you find the right guy for it, I think Coach DeVries would put it in place right away. If it takes you a year or two to find that, it might be that scenario. But I think that position could be helpful. I don't think it's instrumental in. I think it's instrumental in long-term being able to build rosters year after year after year. If we're going to continue this portal situation the way that it is, I do think a GM would become more important. But I think we're all kind of under the assumption, which is totally an assumption, that this portal thing's probably going to change a little bit every year and kind of start reining itself back in maybe a little bit. But who knows? We don't know that for sure.
Yeah, the GM position, I think, is one that is not going to go away. It's going to become more and more of an integral part of the recruiting because the guys that I'm seeing being hired as GMs are big-time recruiters or NBA scouts, guys that know how to identify talent, identify players, that know the vehicles to find players and all of that. So it is, in essence, a very elevated recruiting director position of sorts.
Yeah, and I equate it to, how and the NFL has been great at letting us over the last few years kind of get a little more behind the scenes. And you know how you get to draft night for the NFL and then you see the boards and they've got, at defensive end, they've got 9 players listed. They've got all these on there. And so if this guy's available, that's the guy we're going to take. And they basically got a whiteboard of players that you would love to assemble the perfect roster from. And I think a GM would be more of doing something like that all throughout the season, maybe assembling a roster, rosters of guys, guards or point guards or shooting guards or centers or, whatever you're trying to build as the roster, how you want your roster to look. You're able to identify guys that are out there that are going to have years of eligibility left, especially at mid-majors and, Division II and NAIA schools. And, that's what I think a GM can do for you and the recruiting coordinators can do for you. Honestly, Jim, I think you said it exactly right. I think the GM position is basically an elevated recruiting coordinator role and kind of an overall CEO of recruiting. And that's what that position will end up being in the long run. And I think it'll be beneficial for Indiana to have that.
And the only difference now, I think it's before it was guys that had been in the college game more that were up and coming coaches and things of that nature. And now it is people that have been focused on recruiting that have a much better eye for talent that not before the recruiting director was more administrative kind of in a way of
right.
Reading the different whether it's On3 and reading the reports and this. These GMs, they know these players, not necessarily personally, but they know them by name, by sight, by game. They know how their game is. Will that game fit into my coach's program?
Well, and look at it this way, Jim. Like, let's say, so last year, I think the recruiting coordinator wasn't it Jordy Holes, or if not, he was the year before, or whatever that was.
Title.
Right. Well, he also had other duties and responsibilities, and those duties and responsibilities included every day on the court, working with players. Basically that was his title, but he was basically just another assistant coach. I think the GM role would be different than that. They wouldn't be on the court every day. They might be at practice most every day, but they're not going to be on the court working with players. It's exactly what you said. It's an elevated recruiting coordinator role where that is your only goal. And the reason why not every school did it this way, but Indiana did, and most schools that I know did. They used that recruiting coordinator role as an opportunity to get another coach on the floor. Why the NCAA? I mean, football's allowed to have how many coaches? 25 coaches they've got. For whatever reason, basketball's only been allowed to have 3 plus the head coach. So 3 assistant coaches. Now they're allowed to have 5. But I don't understand why they limit that. Why would you care how many coaches work with these players? That to me is another NCAA rule that just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, the funny thing is, of all the rules that have been blown up, they have some of the stupidest rules yet. Like
they're hanging on to some of these dumb.
You got to give us something. You got to give us something. You
That's
can't
exactly
mention
right.
a recruit's name if he is not signed to your program.
Yeah, and you can't talk to him. You can't talk to him at all. No communications one day, and the very next day, I'm allowed to go eat dinner at his house. Like,
yeah,
give me a break. And I understand why they do this and why they do a lot of it and all that. But I mean, some of the rules are silly, and the ones where they limit the amount of coaches. And I know they limit it in football as well, but the limit is significantly higher, like crazily higher. I mean, and in basketball to be able to have 5 total coaches, to me does not. Why would you care if they had 25 coaches? I don't understand why they would care.
Aaron from Indiana Sports Connection with a great comment. What if the GM wants a player the coach doesn't want, who makes the final call? Well, unlike professional sports, it is reversed. In my estimation, the coach hires the GM pretty much. So the coach is the CEO. The GM is under the coach, which is not how it works out in professional sports.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be the same at every school. I think there are going to be some schools where I think the GM role is going to be different, and it's probably not someone who reports to the coach. They probably will report to the athletic director in more of an actual GM role, not just a recruiting coordinator role. But I think in most cases, yeah, you're exactly right. The coach is going to make that final call, and that's the way. I mean, when that's person's sole goal is to build the roster and help build a future roster, the coach obviously should have the final say in that.
Yeah, but I do wonder with at Stanford, Andrew Luck and football. I can't remember what his title is, but it appears that he is the guy that is, because he just named Frank Reich as the interim football coach at Stanford. So I'm like, okay, he's kind of head of the football program.
Right.
It appears.
He's almost like the athletic director of the football director. He's just the football director. And he can make the same decisions that the athletic director. I'm sure the athletic director has to approve it. I would guarantee you that is the case. But, you know, like let's just say, for an example, you take a Duke. What if they made Mike Krzyzewski the GM? I mean, at his age, they're not going to do that. I get it. But, I mean, you get what I mean. A guy who's been – Jay Wright. Someone makes Jay Wright a GM. You're going to trust his decisions in what he does with that program. Mostly, I mean, you're until he makes a decision you don't – that could hurt you, you're going to pretty much give him a lot of rope and a lot of leeway for him to be able to make his own decisions. But I don't think it's going to be that way at every school. And I don't think every school is going to use that GM position the same way. And some of them will give that total power to a GM, and some of them, that GM will be exactly the way you described them, as just an elevated recruiting coordinator.
And another reason why it has to be that way in college athletics, especially, is because these rosters, it's not like in the pros. You know who your roster is, unless someone is to get traded. But you know that you have them contracted for 3 or 4 years or whatever the case. College athletics, nope. You got them this year right now, and not necessarily then, because they may decide that, you know what, I want to reserve my eligibility. I'm going to shut it down. They can do that.
Sure.
Or when in pro, you can't do that without there being ramifications. So I think that that just brings up something to mind, that if you are someone who determines, you know what, I've decided I'm going to maintain my eligibility, but then that's probably not someone who has a big NIL agreement. But if they did, that should end that right there and then.
And that's been, I think that's what a lot of athletic directors and coaches have a problem with right now, with the way that things are being done, because the players literally have all of the leverage for the most. I mean,
they've gone from having none to having all of it.
All of it. And every player, you know, like look in the NFL or look at pro sports. Whenever a player is in a contract year and they're going to become an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, like they hold more cards than a guy who's in year one of a 7-year deal. And that's what every player in college basketball is right now. Every single year, you're an unrestricted free agent. And that's why I have said, and I think pro athletes would tell you the same thing. If you have the ability to test the market and see what your worth is, it probably makes sense for you to do that. Until you get to the point where you got enough money, it doesn't matter. And you know, I don't think college players are going to be in that category. They will when they get to their pro sport, but at this level, you know, these athletes, I think it's well within the right, and I don't blame any of them. If I had a son, I would tell him to do the same thing. Test the market every year and see what you're worth. Maybe there's a better situation for you out there. And it's not just the money, but the money is a huge factor in it. It's life-changing money. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And actually, it's a lot more than that now, because it's into the millions. And it brings up a question from William. Will IU pay $4 million for a player? Well, I don't know that they will today, but probably eventually, depending on where the money goes. Because if you look at NIL just over the last 2 years, it seems to have doubled year over year, and then doubled again and then some from last season to this season.
Well,
I've seen many guys that are either asking for getting in the millions now.
But think about it, Jim. Like there's no, if a school is willing to pay it. So, you know, like let's take Arkansas or Kentucky, for example. Like, Arkansas has a huge booster. This is alleged. This is what we all kind of think we understand. But there's a huge booster. Yeah. There's a huge booster at some of these schools that's willing to pay that amount of money. And I mean, yes, will they pay someone $4 million at some point in time? Unless legislation changes, unless they put some big time restraints on it, yes, there will be, before too long, there'll be a player that gets $4 million at Indiana. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no doubt that it depends on where the market goes. If you want to be a player in the game, you're going to have to pay. But at the same time, I also wonder, what was Florida's NIL payroll this past season that just won a national championship? I know that they were paying, but I really wonder how high it truly was.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think, we've all kind of said all year long, Indiana and Kansas, had some of the highest NIL budget and payroll in the country. And you can see like it didn't really pan out. And Kansas was never, a real national contender all year long. Obviously, Indiana wasn't either. And then you go look at some other schools. I mean, Arkansas, obviously they did pay a lot of money and they brought recruits over from Kentucky and brought those freshman recruits that Calipari had to Arkansas. And they paid big money. And their season was decent. I mean, I would say their season panned out okay. But it didn't work out that way for everyone. And that's why I think, when you see the success of guys, when you see guys like Braden Smith that's able to year after year be consistent and show he's going to put up numbers, yeah, there's going to be schools out there that are going to offer people like that big money. And I'm just using Braden Smith as an example. There's several of those examples, but guys who are putting numbers up consistently and going to stay in college, yeah, they're going to command a little bit more money. And somebody's going to pay that money eventually. And when they do, then other people are going to have to match it and beat it. And that's just the market we're in right now.
Braden Smith is a great example of somebody who is going to make enough money in college
to never work again
for the rest of his life. And it's not because he's making $100 million. I don't know, he may come out of college with $4 million total. I don't know. But I tell you right now, I could live the rest of my life on $4 million. I would make it happen. But he's also going to have a pro career. I don't think it's going to be in the NBA where you really make the money. But regardless, he's still going to play overseas at the worst case.
So like the reasons you're saying he's not going to play in the NBA are the same reasons why coaches said he wasn't going to be able to play in college in the Big Ten. And I agree with, I understand what you're saying, and the NBA is a different game than college, but no one thought he could do it in college either. And
I know you disagree. We've had that discussion, and I hope that, and when it happens, if it happens, and I will do the bow and say, you were right. It's just his size. Yeah, you're right. It's just his size. It's not his heart. It's not his talent. The dude can shoot. The dude has heart. The dude is smart. He's a player you want on your team. He's a teammate. He's the consummate player. So it's not any of the things. It's just speed, things like that. But
I understand what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, he just, he's unique and he's different. And, the debate last year was Zach Edey, and he was too big to play in the NBA. And then now you're talking about a guy who's too small to play in the NBA. And I think they're both going to end up with NBA careers. But that's just my guess. Like, heck, I don't, we're just two dudes guessing against each other here on this. Like, I don't know that he'll make it, but I think he'll make it. And I think his game will translate into helping some team be pretty successful.
But he's going to be one of the smart ones. And it's great to see someone that just didn't jump around. I have to say, he's going to be at one school his whole career. But now, once this core of Purdue players gets out, Fletcher Loyer, Braden Smith, Trey Kaufman-Renn, that's what I call their core. Those guys have been together. They will have played together all through their careers.
They're unique in college basketball because you probably can't find that at one school at very many other places, if any.
But will you find it again, though? I don't know that you'll ever find it again.
Yeah, for 4 years, I'm not sure you will either, especially with three guys. I'm not sure you will either.
What becomes of Purdue once that happens? Because things are not just going to change 180 degrees.
Look,
I understand that, but he's going to have to start hitting the portal. It's already begun. There are some cracks. Miles Coven, Cam Heide, they're going.
But like I don't think you want to test Matt Painter in trying to adapt to a scenario. Like, he'll adapt. He'll be fine. He'll find. It's not like he isn't capable of going in the portal. It's not like it's just not been their model so far. But he has adapted his model a little bit and changed it, varied it a little bit. I think they have, they've got the culture. That's the one good thing with them. And it will be different for them whenever you lose an entire class like that. I mean, like back in my day when we lost Calvert and Greg Graham and Matt Nover and Chris Reynolds all in 1 year, like that's a big core to lose. I mean, you lose the all-time leading scorer in the Big Ten out of a class like that. And then, the next year with Damon and Pat Graham leaving in the same year, like you lose a culture. You lose guys that are part of a culture. And hopefully when you have that culture, you've created it for the younger guys. Like I always tell you on this show, like Jamal Meeks was always, I thought, instrumental in our locker room in helping the younger guys understand the culture. And, he might not have been the best player on the team of the older guys, but I think he was one of the best leaders, and he did a really good job of helping the younger guys understand the culture. And I think you're in better shape when you have that in your locker room. And I think that's what Purdue has. I don't think that'll change. I think they'll have people that will always continue their culture. Might be doing it with some newer players. And look, hey, Jim, they've been in the portal. Like they've had a very instrumental player out of the portal, 2 of the last 3 years that's been in their starting lineup. So it's not brand new to them. It's just they've not had to bring in 4 or 5 or 6 of those guys every year. They brought in 1. And maybe they'll have to bring in 2 or 3. We'll see. But I wouldn't test Matt Painter and think he's going to fail that test, because he'll adjust however he needs to adjust.
Tom Izzo certainly has done it.
No doubt.
Amazingly so, because he's older, which makes it harder. Brother, enjoy the rest of the sunny days in front of you. I hope
I will
enjoy. I guess driving home, that'll stink, but
yeah, that's never fun. But yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good. I'm going to enjoy my last couple of days golfing. I'll be thinking about you. It's actually not terrible at home. I looked at the weather. It's not terrible.
It's not. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. I played 5.5 holes yesterday. Rained. So
I'll put on some extra sunscreen for you today.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Be safe. Enjoy it, brother. We appreciate you immensely.
Yep. Same to you. As always. Enjoyed it.
Make sure you go to myjumpshot.com. Again, looking for, if you have kids, no kids that are looking to improve their basketball fundamentals. The great Todd Leary. More coming up on the backside. We'll hit it. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Glad to have you along. Looking forward to Zach Osterman joining us here next. He's the reigning United States Basketball Writers Association Beat Writer of the Year, just receiving that award at the Final Four. Congratulations to him. I wonder if he knew that on his way down there, because I knew he was down there covering for, as a matter of fact, when he was on with us last week from San Antonio, he mentioned being down there working for USA Today. So I wonder if they surprised him. That would be cool. But we'll find out either way. How about the Pacers, man? Big win last night over Cleveland. I know that Cleveland was sitting a lot of guys, and that game shouldn't have been close. Neither should the game before that against Washington. I remember looking up, and I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Screwing around with this Washington team that they shouldn't even be in the same universe with, that they should be kicking the crap out of. So it's weird. I don't know what it is. Indianapolis has done this Indy has done this all year when they play. It's like they play down to a team's level for whatever reason. So they won ugly, but they're winning games. They've won 49 games now, so they can win 50 games. I think they end the season, though, at Cleveland, but Cleveland will be resting those guys again. So they'll have to come around and put the extra effort in, for a little something. But Zach Osterman joining us here shortly. Looking forward to that as the Indiana Hoosiers football team is practicing going on. That is about to conclude next Thursday with the spring game. We'll be out there, of course. Coach Shannon Griffith will be with me, and then they'll do a post-game wrap-up of how things went and what we saw and all the goods and all of that. Later on, we'll be joined by Joe Tipton and Alec Lasley. So greatly looking forward to that. We'll get you caught up on all things that are going on in the recruiting world. Who's catching up? Who's on the docket? Who are some of the guys that are bouncing around? I know that from what I've seen, the conversation that was held between Darren Vries and some of the players on that Zoom call, he must have told them that they would expect to land a bunch of players in a bunch, like 4, 5, 6 players hit at once. And that makes sense because you're talking to all these different guys right now, and none of them are going to make a decision on the spot. And most of them have other visits to go to. Some they'll cancel, some they won't. But it's going to take a second to get the decisions in. So I would say just relax and just wait for that to play out. No big deal. Let's see. Zach is having an issue with the internet. He may not be able to get on with us today. So if not, we'll have to congratulate him next week on his great honor. But Indiana is just forging ahead with trying to land the players that they need to land. Partly the reason it's been slow going is, I just mentioned, you've got to go through a lot of guys, talk to a lot of guys. And when I was talking with Todd, that's the number of players that you have to sift through if you don't already have guys in your head that you want to revisit, like Connor Enright, who had a previous relationship, and of course Tucker DeVries. So and guys like that makes it easy. But it's finding different guys that you're not familiar with. There are guys that are still going into the portal. I saw guys yesterday that were going in. So again, it's a slow process. So it's not that big a deal as far as getting this done in the snap of a finger. You don't want it done that quickly because that tends to you thinking, were there any mistakes? If we had waited, could we have gotten that? So There's a 30-day window that opened on March 24th. It runs through April 22nd. There is no deadline for when a player who has entered the portal has to commit to a new program. But the sooner programs can get players in, the quicker the strength and conditioning staff can put that player on a plan to fit the program. Now, unless you've come from Drake, which some of these guys did, or at least Connor Enright originally did, where I don't remember what his program was like there. It probably wasn't as slow then. So a lot of similarities. I can't imagine that there's a ton of differences other than there would be a big difference between playing for Alabama and playing for Iowa now. The conditioning would be greatly different, and I understand that completely. But it is clear that IU coach Darren DeVries will have to tailor his roster to his liking, which coaches have told a lot of people that will mirror him as a player. 4 players are already leaving the program as a result of the expiration of eligibility for Ballo, Galloway, Hatton, Leal. Those guys are all gone. And then the rest hit the transfer portal. So Indiana with a completely clean slate other than Trent Sisley. Now you've had a couple of commitments and more to follow. Expected to hit early. I'd say next week you will start to see names, multiple names inside of next week. Russell says the Cougar Club, a major fundraising group, plays a crucial role in providing NIL funds for BYU athletes. Many alumni, particularly those within the Silicon Slopes Tech Hub, are also heavily involved. I didn't know that BYU was a Silicon Valley provider. Did not know. I have wondered what in the hell is the sudden surge in basketball in Utah. I mean, I just don't think of Utah as a basketball or football school. I know that they won a national championship back in the 80s, but that was kind of BS. A, they didn't win it. And B, they beat a 5-6 or a 6-5 Michigan team to win it. Yeah, but anyway, they've just become this thing. And I'm like, wait, what? And now you've got AJ DeBansa, who's the number 1 prep player in the country that plays for Utah Prep. So it's not like they got nothing. They got something. And it's amazing. So we'll keep an eye on that. And with the portal, changes can happen so fast. Anybody, any program can become good if you have the right NIL program and the right coach that knows how to put a program together. NIL alone is not going to do it, as I don't have to tell Indiana fans. You have to do it the right way. I think that most coaches would do it. Oh, there you go. That's I missed it. Aaron says it's all the Cougars out in Utah attracting basketball players. Ha! There you go. Ba-da-bumps. I got to get my roadcaster going, man, so I can hit that. Move out there, have 5 eyes. It's a basketball player's heaven. Well, I guess there is that. I think they may have outlawed that now. But in Scottsdale, Russell says he was told be careful because rich old ladies will club you and take you home with him. Russell, I don't know what life you're living, brother, but it's not one that I live. Let's see. Brian says TJ McConnell can play in the NBA. So can Smith. He won't start, but he can be a fly in the ointment. Yeah, we'll see. Hey, crazy things have happened. I guarantee you, I would have said the same thing about Muggsy Bogues and that, but it's not just his height, it's the speed. If you look, who took Purdue down in the tournament? Guys that had great defensive guards. Well, most of the NBA has good defensive guards. So I just don't see him having the wherewithal. Look at Tyrese Halliburton. Really? He can get his shot up over guys. Braden Smith can't. I don't know that he's actually 6 foot tall. It's not I'm not harping on Braden Smith. He's a great player. He's a good player, smart player, good kid. He has all these great attributes, but I just don't think he'll play in the NBA. We'll see. But he'll have a career, but he won't need one. He'll make more money in college than he's going to because I don't think he'll play in the NBA. I think he's going to make more money in college than he will playing professionally overseas. So, yeah, but you can't compare TJ McConnell to Braden Smith right now. It's just not, you just can't do that. In my opinion, I don't think so. So there's that. Lots of football going on at Indiana as they are wrapping up spring practice as they get closer and closer to the spring game, which is next Thursday. All kinds of stuff going on, man. The transfer portal for college opens up soon as well. What is that, like a week? I can't remember the date that opens up, but then that opens, and I think both will be open at the same time. There's some overlap, I believe. Man, it's just so much going on at this day right now. And you think once the season ends that it slows down? I said it last year. No, I think it's sped up, whether it was with the AAU and all that. Now, and I wonder, how important is AAU going to remain? It has been such a feeder system, such a must-have, because that's where you got the guys. Well, that's not necessarily where you're getting them now, especially if you have a GM. It's going to change greatly. So many of these guys are going to, and Rufo, I may have brought this up the other day, but Rusty, friend of mine, brought something up that made perfect sense. It wouldn't work, but he said, what about if a team wanted to work out a deal with a couple players that they didn't think would be on their roster and say, hey, why don't you go to Evansville and for a year or so, build up, and then we can bring you in next year. But you would give them, I don't know, donate some money for NIL, something to keep them in the fold. And I'm like, well, that sounds great on paper. It's like a feeder system, but there's no guarantees. You unless I don't know if they could pre-sign something while at another school. So, boy, you want to talk about really going down a rabbit hole. That's why Congress is going to have to step in. The one thing that has to be reined in is the transfers. That is just, it's helped and hurt college athletics, but you can't stop certain things. There are just certain rules in the country. Monopoly rules, for one thing. So, William asking again, I thought I answered that, William. Will IU pay $4 million for a player? Not this year. Are you asking me, will they pay $4 million for a player this year? No. Eventually? Sure. If that's where the money goes, and that's where it seems like it's going. Like I said, look at NIL year over year the last couple of years. Think about Nigel Pack. He signed this monumental deal for $800,000, 4 years ago? $400,000 per year. Boy, did that drop some jaws. Man, that ain't nothing now. Money keeps doubling. It keeps growing. It keeps growing. Now we're hearing $1 million, that word $1 million used a lot. So will it eventually get there? Probably will. I can't say that it won't. And if it does, then Indiana will be paying it. So, but yeah, this year, no. Absolutely. I no. Who in the hell is out there that's worth $4 million? Just because somebody's asking for something does not mean it's worth that. A, it's worth what you can get, but B, things have a value. And I just don't see a coach like Darren DeVries right now with what he's trying to build and how he's trying to build it, looking at $4 million. Matt says that Cooper Flagg got 4.8 this year. Well, how do you know that? For one, I believe Duke is a private school, and that information definitely would not be released, but NIL money is not released anyway. So I'm not sure where that information comes from. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Matt, but I just don't know where that information comes from. It's easy to say that. And don't confuse NIL value evaluation with what you're actually getting. There is a difference. Talked about Arch Manning yesterday. He has the highest NIL evaluation in college athletics. It's like 6.4 million or something. Laurie says she thinks they should have to disclose how much each player gets. LOL. So I don't know if she's serious about that. And I say that because, well, then that would require every person in America to disclose how much money they make. That's no different. It's just because this is new. It's different for people. It's hard for people to get their hands around it. And I understand that because it's gone from 0 to 100 miles an hour in the blink of an eye. After decades of being the same old. It's like having a car going 50 miles an hour for 100 years and then all of a sudden hitting Mach 1, breaking the sound barrier. Indiana Creek Walker thinks Lamar Wilkerson is a $2 to $3 million guy. I disagree with that. Why? Why is he a $2 to $3 million guy? Who says he's a $2 to $3 million guy? I don't see that. A, and B, well, Indiana's fortunate that they would have the money. They're going to have a little boost, actually. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to get, well, they won't get the same amount, but the amount of money coming over from the rev share that will begin as soon as that House settlement is approved will not equal what they paid out last year, in my opinion, but it will add a nice boost to it. And so Indiana, one of the programs that already has a nice NIL program, and they can just add that rev share amount to it. Let's see. Who just said that? Andy says, I must have been asleep the last 2 weeks. The dollar has jumped considerably the last 2 weeks. Ask your next two guests. Are you talking about the numbers that somebody is asking for or numbers that someone is guaranteed that they've gotten? Again, most of these numbers are not disclosed. So where's the information coming from? Are these guesstimations? I believe so. Hey, we're going to hit a break. When we come back, Alec Lasley will join us. And Joe Tipton, Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com on 3. Joe Tipton from On3, maybe one of the most connected guys in all of college basketball. Appreciate you being with us. Got lots more coming up, and we're back with it. On the other side, Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theUglyGrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. I hope you had a great week, ready for the weekend. It's back to the grind for everybody here, especially Joe Tipton from On3 Sports, one of the most connected guys in all of college basketball, and our own Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com On3. Joe, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know you just got back dealing with the Final Four. Busy times, man.
It is definitely busy times, but happy to join you guys.
Alec Lasley, great to see you again, sir.
Good to see you, Joe. Always good to connect.
Definitely.
How was your time down in San Antonio?
Oh, it was great. Enjoyed it. Didn't go to the championship game, but went to the Final Four games. Went to some USA basketball, the national junior camp, to see some top high school talent as well. And it was a great time. The portal, I wish the portal wouldn't interfere with March Madness. However, we don't have a choice. We're saying that, but it's fun, all the roster movement, all the changes.
The only thing I care about it where you went is, did you go to Whataburger?
No, I did not. I thought about it. I almost did, but I didn't. But I've been before.
It's my favorite. It's my one of my life loves, man. One of my life loves. Yeah, the portal. We've talked so much about this because not only does it interfere with the Final Four, it interferes with the NCAA tournament when you've got guys that are in the freaking portal with a current team that they're currently playing on. That's just, there's nothing in sports that compares to that, I can imagine.
Oh, I know. And we've even seen, not even just the NCAA tournament, some of these other postseason tournaments like the Crown, the NIT. We even saw some players, kind of similar to bowl games, kind of opt out of these tournaments in order to go into the portal. They know they're not coming back to school. They don't want to risk injury. Obviously, these players are, agreeing to really significant financial deals as well. So it's, a lot of it is just a business decision.
Absolutely. Alec, a busy week for you too, as you've been tracking Indiana's movements, as quietly moving about. Darren DeVries had a Zoom call with former players in addition to working the portal as Final Four was going on. And as he continues to try to add, one of the things that came out of that meeting with the former players is for fans, or not fans, but to expect players to kind of come in a mini bunch, which makes sense because you're talking to so many different guys right now, lots of visits. They're going on visits elsewhere, not making an instant decision. So it would make sense for there to be a mini group of guys to hit at once.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, especially right after the dead period, that's, typically over the next, probably 3 to 5 days is where you're going to see the next uptick of commitments, right? Because you're going to see guys go on maybe 1 or 2 right off the bat and then end their recruitment right there. And that's really the next swing of things. And so for Indiana, right, I mean, the big name is Lamar Wilkerson that everyone obviously has been following over the last kind of 72 hours where things have really kind of spun around in a total 180, then kind of went the other direction and everything like that, with a lot of talk about potentially Florida jumping in, and then Kentucky obviously picking up a lot of steam there. So, this is a very important weekend for Indiana, because any guys that are on campus, you want to get a commitment right when they're on campus. You do not want anyone leaving at this point in the portal. And the good thing is, especially with Lamar Wilkerson, they do have the first visit. So that is extremely important. Whereas, typically in the high school stages, you typically want the last recruitment. When it comes to the transfer portal, you want the first, because you do not want anything to, impede you potentially getting that visit. So a very, very important weekend for Indiana if they want to continue to obviously build this roster. And Lamar Wilkerson is 1A and 1B of that roster building at the moment.
Joe, had a lot of talk about money, because I've mentioned that over the last couple of years, we have just seen that money double just year over year. It's just like growing and growing. It's like, wow. And last year over this year, it's almost like 1.5 times. And I know it's going up. Someone asked earlier, do I think that Indiana is going to pay $4 million for any player this year? And I'm like, no, I don't. But doesn't mean I'm right, number one. Number two, I think that depends on what Darren DeVries is trying to do, the type of players he's trying to look at. So I don't know. But when you start to get demand, that increases your value. And get other teams jump in, Kentucky, Duke, whomever it may be, all of a sudden your ask can go up.
No, definitely. The market is bonkers this year. Like, I remember one of the first NIL deals that we saw of this era was a Nigel Pack public deal when he committed to Miami from Kansas State. And it was a 2-year, $800,000 deal. Now, a 2-year, $800,000 deal is your 8th man or your 9th man, right? Like last year, we saw a couple $2 million deals and just thought this was absurd. Now, $2 million have been thrown out to probably 20 plus players. There's $3 million offers being thrown out. And that's just the way the market has adjusted over time. I don't know. Eventually, something has to give, right? There's no ROI to give a player for 1 year of college basketball $3 million. However, it is the day and age in which we live, and you have to acquire talent, and that's the cost of acquiring that talent.
And one thing with that, I mean, you look at the rosters that are doing that are throwing around the 3 million, upwards of the top echelon of kind of what the dollar signs are. They're typically only needing to really secure, 2 or 3 commitments, right? For an Indiana that needs to fill that entire roster, that's never going to happen, because you still need viable players and other options to backfill this roster. So for Indiana fans who are like, well, I thought we always were the top of the NIL and everything like that is true, but you also need to take into account that this is a full roster that needs to be built, and you're not just going to throw around $4 million just to get the top player, because then the rest of your roster isn't going to be competitive with what obviously what's out there for the remainder of the transfer portal.
And we Indiana fans saw last year what happens when you just go and buy players, quote unquote, and not buy the right players. You have to get the right players that fit a system that works. And that is something that I think Darren DeVries can put into place because he actually has a system. But he knows the type of players that he needs to run that system. And those are the guys that he's going to get. Now, it's just harder to get them now, Joe. That's the thing, because there's a lot of other people that may want that guy as well.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I think people ask me all the time, like, do you think that these players are making decisions based solely off of, the NIL number? And I don't think that's the case. But, I mean, I've talked to many players this cycle, many players' representation. And if you're not in the ballpark within what other schools are being offering the player, then there's just no chance that you'll end up there. It's obviously you want to play for players are always attracted to the big brands of college basketball, which helps Indiana in this case, obviously. But also the NBA development, that is also important, having someone on staff and encouraging that aspect of the game. But then NIL is going to be up there with all of these really high level players and their decisions.
Yeah, and Alec, getting that you mentioned, there are so many guys that have to be brought in, and I agree with you that there's not going to be this gigantic amount paid for unless you get a Cooper Flag, and that's not likely to happen because I'm not sure you wouldn't turn that down, but I don't see that particular thing happening this year. So you've got to have the guys, although at the end of the day, the rotations get down to probably 8, maybe 9 guys now, even though you'll have 13 on the roster. Those are the ones that matter and matter the most for what they're trying to do, trying to build. And you're rebuilding a culture at a place. There's so much that's going on. You used to be able to sell that. That's not really a selling point to a lot of the players anymore.
Yeah, and I mean that's why you see, I think, Darren DeVries has always done this when he's built his rosters, and he talked about this when he was introduced now a couple weeks ago as the head coach. But he is going to pick culture first and second before he goes after talent. Obviously, he needs talent to win, and he understands that. But he's made it very evident that he's not going to compromise, whatever culture he's already set or what he's trying to build for a top talent player. And I think that's even more critical in this first year to really build that culture, that identity. He's obviously going to be able to do it. We obviously have Connor Enright coming in, who's played for him before, obviously his son, Tucker DeVries. So you have 2 guys who know what that culture really stands for and what that true identity needs to be. But for him, you're probably – Indiana's definitely going to be involved with the top transfers and the probably some of the top high school kids. But I think it's going to be a trend going in the opposite direction for Indiana now, where you're probably going to get a lot more players who aren't as well known and probably aren't the sexy picks in the transfer portal, but are ones that really fit his system and his true culture. I mean, you look at Reed Bailey, a guy that, really obviously has done a lot over the last year in terms of his development, but 2 years ago, I guarantee you not many people knew who Reed Bailey really was. Even going back to his high school days, wasn't a super well-known player, was obviously getting looked at by some Power 4 programs. But that's a guy that not a lot of people a year ago would have been like, that is, top 3 of on my hot board, what I want from Indiana. And he's going out and getting guys that are going to fit exactly what he wants because he knows how to win. He knows how to build rosters. And more importantly, he knows how to flip rosters. And the only way that you do that is getting that culture really set in stone with those first 3 to 4 commitments. And then you can go out and maybe, take a little bit more of a chance on 1 or 2 guys. But it starts with those first 3 or 4, and then you see a snowball effect after that.
And Joe, a perfect example of that to me right now is Florida. Todd Golden in his 3rd season at Florida. Nobody that, unless they were in the business or a real college basketball fan, knew who Todd Golden was before he went to Florida. The players that are on the Florida team this season that just won the national championship, I doubt that many people could have named any of those guys prior. So it's not about getting the biggest names in the game. It's about getting the best guys that fit your system and implementing your system.
Yeah, absolutely. In this day and age with NIL, it's less about player relationships, right? It's more about, for a lot of programs, just being able to have the financial resources to go out and recruit with that. But then also, Florida took a little bit of a different approach. It's, hey, we're not going to spend a whole lot of money. We're going to evaluate, and we're going to do a great job on that side. We're going to get some under the radar guys that nobody's really familiar with. We're going to take a chance on them and develop them. We're not just going to go after the 5-star McDonald's All-American or the number 1 portal player. And then that approach obviously worked. They won a national title. So there can be a lot to be said about that as well. Just the eye for talent and having, someone, or people on your staff that are able to identify players and see how they'll be able to grow, through a couple of years of college.
And earlier I talked to Todd Leary, former IU player who's on with us each week, about this GM position at Indiana that has not even been said that it's going to be named, but I am pretty confident that that's coming. I don't know that that's going to come this year, but the importance of that role is immense because recruiting has changed. And I see a lot of the guys that have been named GMs at places are global scouting directors for an NBA team or people of that ilk who have the ability to evaluate talent, who have the ability to be knowledgeable about a lot of talent, how to find talent. It is a recruiting director to the nth degree is basically what it is.
Yes, no, 100%. And you were even seeing, in former NBA scouts come in and be GMs because of their eye for talent, like you just mentioned, but also the ability to, right? College basketball is not so much amateur athletics anymore, right? It's turning into some sort of pro style, pro system with this pay for play where players are literally signing NIL agreements in order to play for a college to get paid. So you think about the front office and how the NBA teams operate. So hiring a scout, someone with experience, in the pros, plays a big role and helps as well.
Joe Tipton from On3 with us. Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com on 3 with us right now. We've got to take a quick 2-minute break. When we come back, find out how Joe became so connected in the game. I know, but you might not know, and built it into becoming one of the most connected guys around. In addition to who are some of the players that Indiana are looking at and are potential to land in Bloomington. Hey, we're back with much more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth Sour Mash Bourbons, Sweet Mash, and Hard Road Ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular Toasted Coconut Rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. I hope you're ready for a great, fun weekend. We're great because we've got Joe Tipton from On3 with us and Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com On3, a recent merger, which is a match made in heaven for the guys over at Hoosier.com. They're doing a tremendous job, and On3 is the source for all breaking news. If it's not Joe Tipton breaking it, it's somebody else at On3. But Joe, I love how Joe started out by doing edits. And for those of you that don't know what an edit is, it is the thumbnails. It's all these great looking graphics that you see from players that they're artistic and all of that. And parlayed that into these great connections, which was one of the smartest things a human has ever done on planet Earth. And great thinking, because the next thing, he's one of the most connected guys in a big, big business. But did that just happen accidentally?
Well, Jim, I appreciate you saying that. That's very kind. In a lot of ways, I kind of stumbled into it, and it was kind of this natural and organic evolvement, right? I just had a passion for these graphics, a passion for this, photo editing process, and really enjoyed basketball. I'd always been a fan, played a little bit, but was never, really any good to, move on to the college level, and kind of wanted to just do something around the sport itself. And then over the years of making these graphics for these high school players, when they committed to these colleges from around the country, you build up a reputation, and credibility with the player themselves. Also, eventually, they connect you with their high school coaches, which then connect you to their college coaches, right? And so on and so forth. And it's kind of this growing web, if you will. But I love what I do. I'm so thankful and blessed. It doesn't even feel like a job. That's the best part about it.
Well, I know that we're thankful for the information, and Alec, someone that Alec gets to lean on as a great resource. And I know, Alec, you've looked at the things that he's done over the last few years, and it's been a huge part of what we all do now.
No, absolutely. I mean, he really set the trend and set the baseline for it. And obviously, I mean, you see kind of where that industry's gone over the last handful of years, and it's he really jumped the gate for it and opened up a lot of doors for a lot of other people, which is also amazing to see. But yeah, I mean, it's always great to lean on Joe for anything and everything from the national limelight. Obviously, he has a lot going on, so anything that he hears is somehow going to affect and impact probably what Indiana's doing in some sort of capacity.
Yeah, and that's another reason why, if you're not yet, you need to become a subscriber to the Hoosier.com On3, because they've got a great deal going on, and it's where you're going to get the information. Someone asked me, oh, well, this, that. I'm like going, they are the source that breaks the news, man. So that's where you should go. Indiana is looking to fill this roster, as we've been talking about. Who are some of the names that may not be on the average person's radar right now, Joe, that Indiana could be kicking the tires on?
Well, we mentioned Lamar Wilkerson just a little bit earlier. He's obviously the big name. Indiana fans, if you're online, you probably already know who this kid is. He's going to be on campus first. He averaged 20 points a game. I think he was the 13th leading scorer in all of Division I basketball. He has 1 year of eligibility left due to the JUCO ruling. He played JUCO to start his college career, so he's getting that year back. But he shot almost 45% from three. He's a really good shooter. So he's one. for Indiana fans to keep an eye on. I believe he'll be on campus Saturday. And then he will also be planning to visit Kentucky and Auburn as well. So he's one. And then the other one that I'm tracking is Tayton Connerway from Troy. He's a transfer, Sun Belt Player of the Year. He's originally from Texas, but he averaged 14 and 5 and 5. So another really good player from the mid-major looking to level up. So those are two that I'm keeping my eye on right now. However, the portal does not close for another 11 days on April 22nd. Something that I would recommend is keeping an eye on is probably maybe 2 to 3 days before the portal closes. See which other players go in kind of at the last second, just because the portal's drying up pretty quickly, and any player that goes in within that the last few days is going to become a top priority and probably become a very wealthy man, just because there's just so few options.
Is there at any what point, or is there a point where Indiana fans should become a little nervous about having to, because you've got a roster now that includes 15 players, or could include up to 15 players, and we've seen Kentucky and Louisville and Michigan pretty much fill. Pat Kelsey filled a 13-man roster last year, so it's not that it can't be done. Which is there a point where fans should start to worry a little bit?
I don't think I would worry now. I mean, like I said, the portal does not close until April 22nd, but there's still going to be talent available in the portal that are uncommitted. So we'll see them, doing some recruiting even in May. We could also see some of these high school players reclassify and go to college a year early. Indiana might be on some of those. That's, just to help fill out the roster. But I do think that they're going to have the brand, the coaches, the NIL to recruit these high-level players, and they'll be able to fill out the roster. I have no doubt.
Alec, you're staying close to the situation, obviously, at theHoosier.com, which it's kind of a very fluid thing. It's nonstop. But the names are not always known. They would probably like to keep that off the radar sometimes if they could. But when these guys and Joe mentioned earlier about really wanting to get a commitment, so Indiana has the first shot at Lamar Wilkerson before he is scheduled to go off to Lexington and to Auburn. If he leaves Bloomington, what are your feelings on Wilkerson for Indiana?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as I touched on earlier, and as Joe said too, I mean, you in portal land, right? You want the first visit, but you also want a commitment on that visit, because things change in the matter of seconds in these recruitments, and things can go from 0 to 100 in literally 2 seconds, right? So Indiana needs not only to land that commitment, but they need to make sure that he does not go on that Kentucky visit. Now, if he does go on that Kentucky visit, I still don't think it's entirely off the table for a commitment. I do think it's going to come down to Indiana and Kentucky. Those are the two teams that I continue to hear are 100% kind of out in front of the pack. That Auburn visit, I think, is a little bit kind of marked with an asterisk at this point. I would be surprised if he does make it all the way to Monday and visits Auburn. Even some Auburn people that I talk to are a little bit weary if that visit does happen, and they continue to think that it is probably a race between Indiana and Kentucky. You look at what Indiana needs, though. They need a shooter, they need a playmaker with the ball, and they need a scorer. And that's exactly, all three of those boxes that Lamar Wilkerson checks off. Obviously, Indiana has NIL to put up there with just about anyone. And this is a guy who, again, because there's only two teams really with Auburn as that kind of distant third at this point, it's not like there's going to be a huge, team that comes in at the last second and tries to swoop them up, right? I mean, all the cards are pretty much on the table at this point. It's a matter of one who kind of lays out a better role, a better fit, and then obviously kind of where that NIL comes in at. I think Indiana, though, has had the majority of the steam over the last week. And then, like I said, over the last kind of 72 hours, there's been a lot more Kentucky talk with a lot of different, roster movements that they've made. But I don't think necessarily that if he leaves, that it's totally off the table. But I do think Indiana is going to push extremely hard to get that commitment come Saturday night.
And Joe, with them pushing hard, it's because they want to get that. They want the player, but you also want to beat Kentucky. That's a series that comes back into play next season. It's been off the table for a decade or so, which is ridiculous. That should have never happened. That's what, to me, it's the greatest college rivalry in college basketball. I don't care what Duke and North Carolina fans think. This is one of the original. These are two blue bloods from way back, and they fought and fought for decades and decades. And that will come back into play. But I wonder, with Indiana not there just yet, they haven't returned to that stage, that national stage just yet. Will that have an impact on this decision, do you think? Or is this just a business decision now?
You talking about with Wilkerson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's been explained to me about this player is that he's about Lamar himself. He's not necessarily one to make a quick money decision, right? He's banking on, he's got 1 year of college left. There can't be a mistake. He's got it, it's go big or go home. Obviously Indiana hasn't had the success, in the past, quite a few years as Hoosier fans would want. However, I do think one of the more encouraging things about this recruitment is that I think it's a very positive thing. And Alec has mentioned this, and how significant it is that Indiana does have the first visit. Now, I don't know if that's because he likes Indiana the most. Like, I don't know if that's favoritism, but being able to be that first visit is a big deal. At least in high school recruitments, in my experience, do you visit the school first that you like the most? Now, it may be his flight schedule. It might be a variety of things. But I'm also told that Indiana does have the highest NIL package for Lamar by a considerable margin. So obviously, when we're talking millions of dollars on the table, all of the schools that are recruiting Lamar are within that competitive range. However, I do think that there is more of a need for Lamar at Indiana rather than at Kentucky. Kentucky's going to have a lot of other firepower. Don't get me wrong, Indiana will be a good team as well. They'll have talent, but Lamar is going to be one of those top one, if not top two focal pieces if he decides to be a Hoosier.
And I think that's something people forget about. Being a featured player means a lot because they probably have hopes and thoughts about that next level. And to get to that next level, you need to be a featured player. You need to show your wares. You need to develop your wares. And if you can do that better at one place than another, it's a business decision, but that's going into what you're doing.
Without question. No, that's what it's all about with a lot of these players. Yeah, the NIL, the college money is great, but the NBA is where you want to be, and that's most of these players' dreams. And that's like I said, with the NIL, it's the deciding factor, but then also just the NBA and the forward thinking of the pros is also a big deal as well.
College basketball, college athletics, period. The transfer portal, or the lack of any governor on stopping multiple transfers. That's the one thing that I really despise about where we are. But at the same time, I have to acknowledge and realize it's made both football and basketball better than they have ever been as far as a product, as far as watching the NCAA tournament that we just saw, the college football season we saw last year with Indiana becoming a college football playoff team after having a program that was a walking corpse for its entire life. So it has made such a great impact, and it is maddening at the same time.
No, it really is, just because you never know if you're a fan of a team, you never know who's going to be back. Like in the years past, right? If you weren't going to be an NBA draft pick, we were all under the assumption that you would be back at your current school. Now we're not under that assumption. Regardless, obviously, I know Indiana had a coaching change, but even a random school in the SEC that has their same head coach, a player isn't fully back at that program until they literally put out a graphic or someone puts out a tweet saying so-and-so is returning to Tuscaloosa next year. That's where we're at.
Someone asked a question earlier. I had it marked and I may have lost it, but I know what the question was. Oh, there we go. Matt wanted to know, how does On3 get its NIL valuations, money info? And I think people confuse valuations with evaluations. There's a difference.
Yes. So what we do is valuations. It's basically an estimate of what a player could make in college. Few factors that go into that. Two specifically is roster value, which is how much you mean to that particular program. The second being your brand value, which is typically your social media following. Those two combine for the NIL valuation. But a lot of it factors in is, what a player has produced in college, and their ranking, their position is also important. Big men specifically typically get more NIL money in college just because there's not a lot of 7-footers, 6'10" dudes walking around. They're more scarce. So that's kind of what plays a role. But it's really just boils down to kind of their ranking, their talent level, what other players are also getting. Some of these deals, if we've seen recently, are starting to become more and more public, what players are agreeing to in order to sign with a specific college. Out of the portal or even in high school, you'll hear some numbers, and it's typically just message board chatter. But now we're seeing it become kind of more online and public. But that's kind of it's just kind of a combination of it all. But it's very much so an estimate, and it's not saying this player is getting this amount of money to go to that school.
What's up next for you, Joe? I know you've got a lot in the pipeline all the time.
Well, really just to keep track of these visits. Obviously, the dead period's over, and all of like Alec and I have been discussing, these players are going on campus and visiting these schools and keeping track and seeing, which players pop on the visit, which players continue to take more trips. And then I think we're going to have a very, very busy weekend, and Monday and Tuesday, I think there's going to be a lot of these players that come off the board.
We'll be looking forward to it. Again, thank you for your time so much, man. I look forward to doing this occasionally again. Love your knowledge and appreciate all that you do.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks,
Joe
Joe.
Tipton from On3. Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com. What is coming up next with at the Hoosier, Alec?
Yeah, so it looks like we have an addition to the IU staff. It's actually just coming out, and I am able to confirm that Kenny Johnson will be coming back to Indiana. So Zach Osterman, I think he got the initial report there out a few minutes ago, but did just get it confirmed from a source that he would be joining the Indiana staff. So now you have 3 assistants in the fold here. The staff obviously kind of coming together. Obviously, Drew Adams, Nick Norton, and Kenny Johnson. Those are 3 very very talented staff members. But you also have
Kenny Johnson. That's a little surprising, I got to tell you. We're about out of time, so I can't expound on it. Damn it, I'd sure like to, because man, that goes back to what the Tom Crean era, and then he was
over with Archie in Rhode Island too a little bit too. So he's had many connections to Indiana.
That's some of those are weird, but hey, make sure you go to theHoosier.com and you'll find out all about it. Alec Lasley will have that and much, much more, and the rest of the guys as well. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
Appreciate it, Jim. Have a good one.
You betcha. Thank you, sir. Hey, that is going to wrap it up for us today and this week. I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. Always a blast of a time. And today was just one of those great ones. Had a fun time. Thank everybody for joining us. Joe Tipton from On3, Alec Lasley from theHoosier.com, and Todd Leary, of course. Most importantly, each and every one of you. Without you, we've got no reason to be here. We're back on Monday to recap everything that happens over the weekend. Make sure you go to theHoosier.com, subscribe, because there's going to be lots of things going on there you don't want to miss out. Until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will See you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on theHoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.
Hello, everyone. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to theHoosier.com on 3. Now with On 3 and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football. Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side. And the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at theHoosier.com. Go there. Sign up today. Hello, everyone. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Thank you, as always, for listening to our content. But for more in-depth coverage on the Indiana Hoosiers football, basketball, and recruiting news, go to theHoosier.com on 3. Now with On 3 and great national writers like Ari Wasserman, Andy Staples, and Steve Wiltfong for football. Pete Nakos, J.B. Shaw, and Joe Tipton's constantly breaking stories on the basketball side. And the local coverage from Alec Lasley, Kyler Staley, and Zach Browning. You can catch something new every day at theHoosier.com. Go there. Sign up today.